I love the random number generator that the NFL is. We knew all of these things last week and the week before. We were certain our predictions. We kind of had an idea of how the entire season was going to play out. And then 4 plays later, the Jets don't have a quarterback. But that's a little NFL and why we enjoy playing fantasy football with it. So jumping back in post week one with 6 teams here. You have the Vikings, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Giants, the Eagles, and the Bengals. Gentlemen, how do you do this week? Pretty well? Not so well? How the overall fantasy football weekend go for you?
I feel great.
I'm feeling really good.
My team scored way too many points.
That's the problem that we all have to deal with. Quality problem, in fact. But as mentioned, there were so many things that we knew for a fact and knew for certain just a short week or two ago that have changed in just a few short plays, a few short minutes, or in 60 minutes on the football field. So we're going to go through a couple of combinations of maybe hot, medium, and cold takes associated with the NFL GMs league right now, and kind of take it from there. So, James, you want to kick us off with one of those hot takes?
Sure. I'll go ahead and start us. The Jets are done in the AFC East. They can't win it.
Like at all? No shot? Dead in the water?
Very long odds.
Well, they are 0-2, so they are in a tough spot. But I don't.
Got to trade one of the starting quarterbacks for an offense.
Oh, is this because Deontay Johnson's down for like 5 weeks?
And Kadarius Toney doesn't have hands, and Daniel Jones doesn't have 2 seconds to throw a ball to Hyatt to where it matters that he can run past the defense. And
they only play the Cowboys one more time.
That's true, but they play Arizona this week and the 49ers next week.
That's fair.
One of those is not like the other.
It's definitely true, but yeah.
What could Jets do to improve?
He needs a running back.
Yeah,
he's got picks. He's got some big name pieces that he could break down.
Yeah, I agree.
That's interesting.
I do like some of his younger guys are actually productive. Will Anderson had a good week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
about it.
That's a fun one. I think the AFC East had some very interesting outcomes this week.
I'm really shocked to see Dolphins at 2-0 and Bills at 2-0. I mean,
yeah,
they were the closest teams to being complete, but it was surprising that did the Jets play either of those teams? Surprising that they didn't take a win off of one of them.
The Jets, I think the Jets played both of them.
They played them both. Yeah, they're 0-2 because they lost to the Bills and the Dolphins.
Yeah. The Bills won strictly because of TJ Watt going ape shit in the second half.
Oh, he had the most running back points too in that division for the week.
Oh yeah, that's right. He has Algier. That's right.
Yeah.
Dolphins got lucky that Burns didn't hold out into the season, and now Chris Jones is back. So that's gonna be. I think Jets not making the playoffs is probably.
So I'll go one here. Anyone else a little surprised by who the top scorer is in the NFC East?
Yeah.
Just a small little bit.
I'm just saying. It's a good thing Giants wasn't playing Cowboys in week 1.
Yeah. I didn't expect an amazing game from Josh Allen, but
But not that.
Yeah, that was a surprising game.
Yeah, that's something special.
Well, the fun part of that was
one offensive touchdown from my skill position. I think there's some regression coming from my offense.
Well, the fun part about Josh Allen's picks was Giants had Jordan Whitehead, so he got all the points for the picks anyway.
That's true.
They just like wash themselves
Yeah.
out.
I'm gonna be just acquiring safeties Josh Allen is playing throughout the year.
At this rate, man.
I like it.
Safeties Josh Allen plays and any defensive end playing Anthony Richardson.
Well, probably the toughest beat of the week, I would say, is the NFC West. Seahawks beating Cardinals by less than 0.6 of a point.
I'm so ready for stat corrections tomorrow.
Yeah, I
My
want to.
body is not.
I want to see that stat correction before I confidently say that one's in the books. But that was a
Oh,
really
so good.
really close game.
I'm so
So I
glad.
saw some of them. I know the biggest one I saw that probably for IDP leagues is going to be Brian Burns' sack and a half is becoming 2 sacks, but that doesn't do enough to get Dolphins to do. He already won 2, so that doesn't do anything.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. The only other close game was Colts and Jags, I think, right? They were like 2 or 3 points apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was one of those that I kind of expected. You know, we were all very unsure about that division, so I honestly am not shocked that one of those games went down to the wire like that.
Yeah. Okay, I've got one. So, I don't think that the AFC North gets the 1 seed. I don't think the winner. I think the winner of the 1 seed comes out of the West, not the North, solely because the North is going to be too battle tested towards each other. They're going to kill each other all year long.
I mean, potentially.
It's going to be too many wins and losses to go into the 1 seed. I think they're going to be fine. There's going to be, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 teams that make it. But I think they're going to destroy each other all year.
I mean, I still like Ravens out of that division, and I could still see them. Like, I could see that being their only loss. Anybody in the North, I could see those being their only losses. I was very impressed with Steelers, even though they put up an 0-2 record. That was quite a performance from them.
What a week for the whole group.
Yeah.
I've got a second one if nobody wants to go.
Sure.
All right. Vikings takes the North. Packers doesn't make the playoffs.
Doesn't make the playoffs. 2-0 start. Doesn't make the playoffs. Wow.
Well, I mean, his team died.
I mean,
That is my hot take.
Mike definitely is going to have to make a couple more moves to get himself there, but I do think that that's a possibility.
I
I might be taking a slightly different approach to this week than I was last week.
Oh, so you're gonna tear it all down again?
The direction in which I tear might be slightly different.
Going to try to see how many losses he can accumulate after starting
Absolutely.
2-0.
I still have my first.
Yep. That's still good for a top 10 pick.
Absolutely.
2 wins.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a hot take, but I do think everybody is chasing our champion, and I think that was kind of solidified after week 1.
Yeah, Bucks had one hell of a week.
He didn't. That's the thing. He didn't actually have a hell of a week because Justin Fields didn't even go off. Alexander Madison didn't really go off. Like he still has more in the tank. Like he
T.
can.
Higgins put a
Because
zero
a
up.
point. Yeah.
Right. So like 300 is not a wild thing for that team to put up.
That's true.
I did not realize that. Damn you.
Yeah, he is ahead of everybody in this league by like leaps and bounds, or at least that's what the first week tells us.
Let's not overreact. I mean, he had a lot of touchdowns.
He won the championship last year, and he was the #1 scorer in this week. So
He won the championship last year because he had the healthiest team. I think
Still
everyone.
championship.
I mean, I'm just saying. Everyone agreed last season that. I mean, literally, like 3 of us lost like 5 or 6 starters throughout the playoffs.
Though I do agree that is how we won it. It is still a championship and not an award for the healthiest team.
A separate NFC contender gets offended when not selected to win the title.
It's not what it- that wasn't.
What do you mean? That's not what's happening here.
Just giving
Well,
you
I
a
mean, I'm
dose
not-
of reality.
I'm not making any like crazy predictions like the Giants won't win the East or anything.
Right.
I just think the Bucks are. I think we didn't respect him enough in the offseason. That is.
I don't know. He's always in the top conversation. I feel like
For sure.
because we're not
Think
calling him the number 1 team. Like, where was the disrespect?
I think it was
By not calling him the number 1 team.
I think there's fair reason not to have him as the number 1 team. Like Carl Granderson got a sack this week. That's not going to happen every week. Like Lawrence Guy, Charles Harris. That's very meh. With Max Crosby as the primary breadwinner in that spot. His D tackle spot isn't got a big point getter. Like I know T Higgins put up a 0, but Pittman put up 26. I don't know how many weeks we're going to see that out of Pittman. There's a lot of questions around Michael Thomas. Eckler's already got an ankle problem. That Vikings team isn't going to put up a lot of points this week. Sorry, Chris. It's just the truth. If you're
This
missing a
week?
center and a tackle, yeah, they play the Eagles.
I think you meant to say any week. Because I watched a good portion of that game, and that offense wasn't going to do anything against a college defense. They looked miserable. Well, all right. Justin Jefferson turned it on for like half of a quarter, and then they were miserable.
Yeah. Week 1 sucked this year.
They really did. It was
It's-
awful.
We can just agree on that. That the first quarter of the 1 o'clock games, I think we were all thinking the same things. Like maybe these guys should have played a little bit in the preseason. Maybe that would have helped. Maybe maybe a couple more functional offensive plays and some idea of where the ball is going. Might be a good idea. And again, I know everyone's been roasting the crap out of Kadarius Toney, but maybe some of that happened. Maybe it was him shaking off some of the rust, and he needed to run a few more of those routes and feel comfortable. He didn't do it, so
I
maybe
tell
he
you
bounces
what,
back.
Week 1 taught me never trust the preseason. Steelers went 5 for 5 touchdown drives in the preseason, and they only scored 1 touchdown. The whole game. They looked like shit.
They scored a touchdown.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
top defense.
They
So, I
scored
mean,
right
that's-
before halftime. They would have had more points if Tomlin didn't decide to try to go for it on 4th down the whole second half. Quicker field goals.
I'd just like us to go back to the season openers with shitty Thursday night games. So like it sets the expectations correctly. Because that was an actual good game on Thursday, and then I was very disappointed by 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Oh man! All right,
Right.
I got another
I got some
one.
to flex around.
Go for it.
Right?
What happened?
I don't know who was talking the other day.
Yeah, Bruno was talking.
Not everybody talk at once.
All right, I'll go again. I got another hot take, and it's more like immediate. And I know he listens eventually.
Okay.
Texans is not going to sell Zach Wilson in time to get value out of him. They're going to sign a veteran and he's going to lose his job by week 3 or 4, and Texans will still be holding an empty quarterback.
I don't think they're gonna sign anybody.
They have to sign somebody. He's the only quarterback left.
I mean, to be honest, though, can we be honest about this, though? Who is out there outside of a trade that is better than Zach Wilson? Like, are we seriously saying that Carson Wentz is an upgrade to Zach Wilson?
Oh, give me Super Bowl hero Joe Flacco.
No.
Again, are we seriously saying these are better options?
I mean,
I
he knows,
think
he
they're
knows-
worth looking at, to be honest.
he knows the system.
Worth looking at. Again, 2 years ago, this was the number 2 pick in the draft. I get it. He hasn't played well. He's had trouble so far. I got it. But really, what this guy was, and he was what he was in the fourth quarter on Monday, where to turn around and say, you know what? Screw this guy. Let's get Philip Rivers back in here. Let's get Matt Ryan off the couch.
I told you he listens. He's already commenting in chat.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with Mike. I just I don't see how you could rationalize like, oh, we've had this kid in this or in on our team for
This will be 3 years.
yeah, but how long's he been with Salah's offense? Literally the whole time.
That's the
Salah's
thing,
been-
though. The whole offense is new because they just brought in
It's
Hackett.
Hackett's offense. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
It's Rodgers' offense, technically.
Yeah, but
Well,
regardless,
now not only is your quarterback downgraded, but your OC is no longer Aaron Rodgers. It's Nathaniel Hackett.
right, but regardless, like Zach Wilson's been in that offense longer than any guy off the street, and I'm not gonna take any guy off the street over somebody that's been in that offense longer.
okay, now hear me out. Okay, all right. Hackett, before he was with Green Bay, was in this magical place called Jacksonville. It's Bortle
Oh,
times.
big board.
Okay. Like, don't get me wrong. I think would make a lot of sense to bring in like a Bortles, like off the street, to help Wilson learn the offense faster. But that's about it. Like, if you get the chance to trade for a truly better quarterback, like if you go another week or two and he's really struggling and Sam Howell's looking really good, go get Jacoby Brissett, something of that nature. Someone that you can then bring in for a week or two, and then after your bye, you put him in, and hopefully you stay competitive enough that you can do something more if you feel like there's an actual upgrade. Because
Yeah.
this is a team with Super Bowl ambitions, and if it doesn't look like Zach Wilson can carry the load, you should do something. Shouldn't just ride it out.
I can
Another
agree
year.
with that. I could see something like once Tyler Huntley's healthy, like going to snag like a Josh Johnson off of Baltimore's practice squad, just because he's been practicing, he's been active. You don't have to worry about like anybody knocking like him having to knock the rust off. But I don't think that they're going for like any type of a noteworthy name. Bortles is probably a decent option because if I'm not mistaken, he was with LA. Is it 2 years ago on their practice squad, or was it last year?
It was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So he's one of those guys where you have to figure out whether or not he's in football shape. But even if he's not, if you just practice squad him, he knows, if he still knows the system well enough, that just having another extra coach in the QB room, someone that knows, could just help Zach a little bit more. Like anything that they can do to help him as much as they can to get ready.
I think one of the benefits for them, if they do decide to go that route, is the change at the number of quarterbacks you can have. Because now teams have extra quarterbacks on their practice squad that they are using at practice, and you don't have to literally grab a guy off the street. You could grab somebody who's started a game that's on a practice squad for another team and that has been practicing and getting reps, and you know that they're in football shape.
Yeah, it's almost like, is Chad Henne available? Like, that's the person you start with. Be like, okay, this is not somebody who Zach needs to feel threatened by, but if things go sideways, he's shown he's been able to step in there and kind of handle things in the past. The fake trade you guys are all skipping over here, which is going to happen after week 4 this year. I've already seen the script. The Minnesota Vikings start 2-2, are upset and decide that they are done with Kirk Cousins, and have noticed that Kyler Murray is coming off the PUP. They trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets. The Jets send back their first next year and a conditional second that could become a first the following year. Then the Vikings take that with 2 firsts and send them to Arizona for Kyler Murray.
No. You just go to Tennessee and get Tannehill.
Oh, no, Kyler Murray to Minnesota. It's going to happen.
It would be a lot of fun. I don't think it'd be good, but I think it'd be fun to watch.
I would cry.
Happy tears?
No, no, they would not be happy to.
Justin Jefferson's down there somewhere.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Do you know how upset Justin Jefferson would be on the sideline? What, you can't see me? Do I need to get down to your level? I could just see him, Justin Jefferson's like just sitting over on the sideline, like kneeling down a little bit. Well, you can't see over the line? You can't find me?
Oh yeah,
Just trash talking to Kyler right in his face. Be great. That'd be front row worthy.
All right. Any other hot takes or thoughts after the first week here? Should we jump into the deals that happened?
I was kind of surprised the Colts started 2-0.
That's Josh Allen. You know, one Josh Allen can't be good while the other Josh Allen's good. One's got to be bad for the other one to make, balance of powers.
so it's
AFC.
it's like a performance Highlander of Josh Allen's.
Yes.
I got one for you guys. AFC is stronger than NFC in this league this year.
Oh, for sure. Just the best
Yep.
teams from the NFC. Just the next 5 teams are from the AFC.
I've got a hot take that I'll get scrutinized because he's in my division, but Falcons have the weakest defense out of all the teams that are considered contenders.
That is pretty bold.
I'm looking. Yeah, I had to go look.
It's also true.
It's a solid but old defense.
It is old.
It's got like no actual starting DNs though. Like everybody there is very rotational and or limited, and several of them are already done for the season. And that linebacking group it's got a couple of guys, but with how much Drew Tranquil was being swapped in and out and how deep that Kansas City room is, that's very like 2 linebacker-ish carrying the whole room. And then other than that, it's corners and safeties.
Yeah, in an NFL where was it Anthony Barr just retired? Is that who
Yep.
it was? In an NFL where he can't find a job, like literally every linebacker on this roster, I could see unemployed next year.
Yep.
Like they're all decent, but they're not like the focal point of their defense.
Because even in Las Vegas, Tyree Wilson is a third in rotation for snaps now with Chandler and Crosby. Dante Fowler is going to be our number 3, number 4 rotational pass rusher off the edge in Dallas, and yes, he'll put up some sacks because Micah Parsons will be somewhere taking 2 or 3 guys to the ground.
Yep.
Denver's got a good defense, and maybe Frank Clark gets one here or there, but I don't think there's enough really coming out of that defensive end room to make it like better than maybe 20 to 15th best in the league-ish. And then just all the question marks at linebacker.
This would be a really interesting pivot team. Looking at it, like if he were just to kind of say, "Hey, this might not be my year," based off like you're kind of saying the status of my defense. If he took some of those names on defense, took say some of his running back depth, and switched out his receiving room, and kind of said, "I'm coming right back at it next year," like he's young and cheap all over the place. Like I feel like he's got the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. This is definitely not a team that could be torn down, but it could definitely like take a year off, retool, be like a 500 team, maybe slightly better. Because like I don't think there's a world where this team goes worse than 500, even if he tries.
No, yeah. So it's not we got to tank for a top 10 pick. It's I'm gonna make the playoffs as a 7 seed, or I'm gonna miss the playoffs and be the 18th pick, and that's kind of where I'm gonna finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
You got another one.
Turn some of the guys into younger players. Use a little bit of the draft capital that this Falcons owner has accumulated some draft capital, right?
I think he's got a couple of future firsts.
He has his picks and a couple extra thirds. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we had him this year. That's right.
Take those thirds and some of the somewhat bigger names on defense, upgrade into younger big names. That team could be right back in the hunt next year. I mean, probably in the hunt this year, but I don't know if he's a serious contender.
No, it's definitely a very good team. It's just when I keep looking at that defense, I don't get worried at all.
Yeah, no, especially seeing the point production that they put up in week 1, I get it.
I feel like we're overreacting to week 1 points.
Oh, definitely, but that's all we have to go. Like, I mean, like what more do you want from a week where we come away and Tua and Jordan Love are the front runners for the MVP?
Dude, Mac Jones was the QB2, guys. Watch out.
Yeah.
Steelers is about to come destroy the AFC North out there with the only real QB, putting up big numbers. Or did two actually outscore him? Two got him, but not that much.
Those three quarterbacks. That's the reincarnation of Brady, Manning, and Big Ben, right?
You know it.
I say 4 teams currently in first will be the highest scoring team in their division, but will not finish in first place in that division.
I have no idea what you just said.
Me neither. So he's absolutely right.
So 4
He made it so convoluted, it's impossible to be wrong.
Yeah, I know. 4 teams currently in first place in their division will be the highest scoring teams in their division, but will not finish in first place in that division. So they'll finish in second, third, or fourth.
So you're saying Chiefs is going to outscore you, but not finish first in the division. Bucks is, who else? Are you saying Cowboys is going to beat Giants in the record, but Giants is going to score more points?
No, I don't think that Giants ends up being behind in points towards them. I would say Buffalo, Kansas City, Green Bay, and where is it here? I mean, this one's not really that fun, but Colts. But I think Jags finishes first in the division, but I think Colts could outscore them throughout the year.
Fair. I mean, I don't see it happening.
That one's not so fun.
I don't see it happening in the NFC North. Like if Mike makes any effort, he outscores the Packers pretty handily. He already having JJ and Burrow is a nice start to outscoring that team.
I got you one that will upset 2 owners in this league very in particularly. The Titans will win the race for the 101.
Whoa.
Who gets 102?
Probably RJ. I'd go RJ just for the factor. The Dotson and Johnston. There's some more names on Pats. That being said, Pats still has starting safety on his taxi if someone wants one. You just have to pay $10 million.
Here's a hot take / obvious take. Pats is going to hear this somehow, and he's going to do everything to prove you wrong.
Somehow? This is a podcast.
Well, I can't wait till he turns around to sell Cedric Tillman for a 4th rounder.
Oh no. I'll buy him if that's the case.
I mean, the nice thing about Cedric Tillman is he's probably not going to score a whole lot of points this year.
Right.
So, from somebody who's trying to keep their points down, he's not a bad asset to have. Now, again, I love Cedric Tillman, and that's why I drafted him. But for someone who's trying not to score a lot of points, he's a good piece to have right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, if Titans wins the first pick, like, good on him. Patriots has done it, has tanked enough, and I've tanked enough to where, we both know we're not going to tear our teams down to complete nothing. And, like, if Titans is going to be closer to nothing, then, good on him. He does have some assets, but I'd much rather keep a starting quarterback in the league and, a high-end wide receiver on my roster. I know Patriots would probably rather keep 2, decent young wide receivers on his roster. So, It's
And
just not.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of looking at it too. Like, I would rather people, if they're going to quote tank, kind of tank how like the Patriots are tanking right now. Like, if you look at his team, he's got 36 players on his team. It's not like he's got the minimum amount at every position and then like big contracts here or there to technically meet what roster requirements are. He's got a lot of cheap pieces that maybe he can turn over and trade for other stuff to people who need him in the next couple of weeks. Like, that's how I like to see, the teams who want to kind of build for the future, not kind of the take out a bunch of cap space and then just kind of have these boulders at different positions.
Yeah, I
definitely
do.
agree. That's a fun
I think this is a fun. I think this is a fun tank race if everybody actually has points scorers.
I think it's pretty easily the Titans right now, unless the Pats or Dolphins or Pats or RJ do something to actually turn their points down. Because that Titans roster is pretty awful. All he's got going for him is a couple of linebackers, but even those linebackers aren't really they're very easy movable pieces. Like Jamar Chase, Jahan Dotson, those kind of guys, they're not going to want to really move them for anything. Whereas what the Titans has and can score points is very replaceable points.
Yeah, he has Sky Moore and Isaiah Likely on his offense, but I do agree. I do think he's the front runner for that. But also, I think there's an argument of these teams that tank and grab the first round pick, and then you achieve the first pick in the draft, but then that thing for most of the time is so so overvalued that it's really hard to move. I know I had the one of the worst years to have the first pick in the draft, having Brees, but yeah, it just felt like that was an immovable pick the second the number actually got attached to it, because it's all right, well, I'm gonna need this many firsts or this many good players, and you've basically forced yourself into you're gonna make that pick because nobody's really gonna pay the value most of the time.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, it's always has to do with the perceived value of the top talent. Like this most recent class with Ding Bijan, Andor Stroud, or Bryce Young. Obviously, that all the top three options are all essentially quite a bit more valuable than all the majority. And then this year's class with May, Marvin Harrison, and Caleb are a lot more. I think it really just comes down to the perceived value of the top players and how much people are willing to give for them.
Yeah, and that becomes the issue. A lot of people don't want to pay regardless of how high or how low the perceived value is. Nobody wants to pay that for somebody that hasn't played in the NFL yet.
It's true.
It just becomes one of those things I guess the best one we saw was Herbert going for the 101-ish area.
Right.
Someone just swapped it out for the quarterback. Obviously, I think a lot of us believed Pats could have got more than just Herbert for it, or would have hoped to get more than just Herbert for it, but it's something there.
I've got one more.
All right, last one, and then we're talking trade.
Yeah.
So, when waivers process tonight, there will still be at least one kicker and punter on free agency.
That's not a wild take.
That's so fucking cold.
But this has multiple layers. Layer 2, the Titans will actually spend $5 million on a kicker, like you said in the chat the other day. Chargers will be replaced next year due to not rostering a kicker before he penalizes himself out of the league. And Commanders may do the same. But the extra layer is the new owner for the Chargers will not be a friend of James. It will be someone random. Because I think James is the last two people come into the league.
I think last three potentially.
Yeah.
I had Saints,
James no more
Saints,
people in the league.
and
You'll come from somewhere else.
I'm definitely running shorter on my list of people. I've definitely got plenty, but I don't know how many people that would be interested in this kind of thing.
But yeah, that's my last one.
All right, that's enough out of you. All right. Let's see. Since last week, we had, I think, 8 trades. We went a little nutty, I think, last week after the podcast finished. So
Oh, I forgot about all this.
you forgot about all this.
Yeah, I know it sounds ridiculous, but
All
I
right.
forgot we
So
haven't
first,
talked
and
about
probably the most ridiculous trade is clearly Jason Pinnock for Tyrell Dodson and Denver's 2025 third. What the hell were you thinking, Chris?
it. Yeah.
I like watching him play. Dodson didn't get like any snaps, so it ends up being the 2025 third for Pinnock.
Yeah, Pinnock got 6 points last week. Played pretty good.
I mean, Let's move to the real trades. I mean, this is like a non story.
Can we go in order of how important they are?
Is
So
there an order?
So we just get this Bills and Ravens trade and me and Chiefs out of the way, and then we could talk about the crazy stuff. Oh, and that Bears Broncos trade. Those are all junk. Let's get to the real meat of this.
Yeah, we can do that. We can get the little shit ones out of the
All
way.
right. Yeah, go ahead. Take us to the little shit.
All right, so this isn't I'm going to start with the most recent one, but Durham Smythe and a 4th round pick for Deion Jackson and Kobe Turner. Did I miss something, or did Deion Jackson get cut? Told that he's not allowed to travel with the team, something like that.
Zach Moss is practicing.
Yeah, but he's still the RB2, and even though he did he even? Oh, he did average 1 yard a carry.
Yeah, he did nothing.
Yeah.
Basically, by every measurable, he was the worst running back ever.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I still think an employed worst running back ever is worth more than a 4th and some guy that's barely clung to a roster spot for 3 years.
But he got 7 targets week 1, dude. He's going to be the next Zach Ertz.
He played 100% of the snaps, weirdly.
Yeah, that's just because they never bothered to add a tight end. All right, that might be. I still don't like it. You paid so much for Deion Jackson. I'm disappointed.
I mean, I paid Marte. That's what I paid, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I look at this as Smythe for Turner and then a 4th for Deion. And Deion, for me, I took a risk. I think he just destroyed any value he has. I think Zach Moss is probably going to play most of the snaps. You're correct that a second or a number 2 running back does have value, but I kind of think
we're talking too much about this trade.
I think JT comes back.
We just said we wanted to get through these ones quickly so we can get to the big ones.
Okay.
Right. I gave up a terrible fringe roster running back for a 4th round pick and some guys I forgot to cut.
Hey, he's 4th all time in rushing yards in college football history.
Okay. All I'm saying is I was very happy to see Levi go out with a little bit of a foot injury in the Thursday night game because I was like, shit, I forgot to cut him.
Yeah, you guys already on IR.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
All right, that's the other one.
The other one we have to talk about with everything in order because it happens after. So we start with the Amon-Ra for Damian Harris, Jahan Dotson, the Carolina Panthers 2024 first, and the Rams 2024 second.
This is incredible.
I'm just honored to be a part of this whole thing. Thank you, guys.
I didn't see the point of you getting ASB in a tank year, but I love the deal generally. It's basically the same thing I did just a couple weeks earlier with Chase last year.
Yeah. I mean, my thought process is there's no harm in having one high-end piece on a really bad team. You can acquire a couple other things, but it's not bad to, especially with the longevity of wide receivers, it's not bad to just set them aside for a year and just, all right, I know I have this, and then it helps you make a bit more of an informed pick in the draft, and really understand how you're building your team.
Yeah, I like it too. I think ASB is an upgrade to all of that.
I do too. Anybody else want to share their feelings, thoughts, opinions?
I mean, just like we were saying earlier about the tanking teams, it's helpful to have some assets that you're building around with that top pick, not just literally just the top pick, and then you still are seasons away from having anything.
Right. After that pick was, or after that trade was made, there was a lot of commotion in the post pod chat, and at a certain point, I realized that Bill was still there, and he was in fact a Steelers fan. So I offered him Kenny Pickett and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and a couple other random things that were thrown in for Jamar Chase, and I took back his questionable quarterback stack.
It worked out in week 1 because Chase did not have a great week, but ASB did.
Yeah.
But I think this is pretty fair. Like, I've always said that I want 4 firsts for Jamar, and I think that's what I got here. Like, ASB is worth 2 to 3 roughly. Pickett's worth 1 to 2, and yeah, I mean, depending on how you view it, everything else comes out. It's all excess, obviously. But I think it worked out for Chase, and it's weird. It's still weird, even over a week later, to not see his name on my roster. But I'm happy with ASB nonetheless.
Yeah, I figured this was gonna be one of the few opportunities that I could actually get into that top tier of wide receiver, and like Amon-Ra was enough of a downgrade to like get you to, or like a close enough of a downgrade to get you to actually do that. I knew Chase for the most part wasn't movable, but I guess this was enough to get it done.
Yeah, I mean ASB is ascending, and I mean he'll get up in that top 5 pretty straightforward. Chase can only go up to 1 if he's not already there in most rankings, and then the only place you can go from 1 is down 1.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know, and I think Pickett is definitely an upgrade over Ritter. So yeah, it worked out overall.
Yeah, and this is ideally the type, like that's the type of quarterback that I don't mind having on a tanking team. If he ends up becoming a backup or getting cut or whatever in the next year or so, like that's fine. But if he ends up doing well enough to keep his job for a few years, awesome. I have a starting quarterback, and I can focus on other positions.
Yep.
But still stacking value at wide receiver. I
expect you move Ritter at some point when someone who's a contender loses a quarterback.
Yep, I'm trying to be patient, but I definitely would like to move him.
Oh man, Packers just lost a quarterback.
That's okay. He's got Jordan Love.
He's got Love, yeah. I mean, for someone to lose a starting quarterback, it's lucky when you have another one.
Yep.
All right, so then I continue the tear it down process, taking Jahan Dotson that I recently acquired from RJ, and then adding in the Giants' first-round pick in 2024 and the Cowboys' fourth-round pick, picking up Mike Edwards, safety from Kansas City, the Commanders first, and the Cardinals first. Why break down a receiver I just got? Because I love making shit happen, and acquiring those picks potentially unlocks some pretty fun and major trades. So, made sense to make the deal.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a reasonable price for Dotson. A first and a half, let's call it, and then turning the Giants pick into a more ideal first round pick was good value.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting the Cardinals first for Dotson was awesome. Let alone the upgrade, I think, from my pick to Washington.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and then yeah.
So then Bill made what I thought was a terrible trade. of Morgan Fox and a 3rd-round pick for Danico Autry and a 5th-round pick, but I was very, very wrong.
They had quite different days.
Man, I've been after Danico Autry for a long time, and he wouldn't move him. Even when I had picks, I was trying to go with picks, and I couldn't get him.
It's interesting. This deal went through whenever he was listed as a DT.
He was always one of those players that, like, during the years where I was trying to compete, like I did want him on my roster. And it's crazy that, like, 4 years later, 5 years later, like, he's still a productive player in this league.
Yeah, it's incredible what he does.
Yep, getting to play next to Jeffrey Simmons is nice.
Yeah.
Martin Key had a good game too on the other side. The three of them, Tennessee's got a little something cooking.
Yep. And then to wrap it all up, as everyone expected, after putting in all that effort to break all that stuff down, turn it all into Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson.
Sounds right.
That's not all you got. All those pieces are worth everything you got.
Yep.
Man. All right, so what is it here? You got Kyler Murray, Michael Mayer, Drake Jackson, Will Cox, and Sauce, along with the Broncos 24th first, the Panthers 24th first, Commanders 24th first, Cardinals 24th first, and Rams 24th second. And you got back Burrow, Jefferson, Gerald Everett, Quan Alexander, Rodney Thomas, and Kenny Moore. You've since dropped Rodney Thomas.
Does that give Cardinals the most firsts? No, never mind.
Cardinals is still somehow gonna like not have a top like 5 pick, I think. But I love this. Like, this is exactly the kind of like serious overpay you have to do to get both of those guys.
And I love what Cardinals team looks like now. Like, he has his first back.
Yeah.
And then he's got just such a fun build roster.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him actually. He's got 28 players on it. Like I said earlier, I'd love to see him fill it out. I know it doesn't, make sense to add more points, but not to go bare bones and actually do this, actively. But oh god, that hurt. Drake Jackson scoring 31 right after I traded him. I was so pissed.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It might be his best game of the year, though. Bosa's actually going to play all snaps now. But I don't know.
He gets to pass rush on the other side of Joey Bosa all year long.
Yeah.
Joey.
I mean, I think this was a really good deal for you.
Yeah, this is great. I love this.
Yeah, they're not like old assets that you acquired. So even though you're giving up draft picks, you're getting like proven young, productive players.
Oh no, I'm happy with what I did.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking 3 late ones, a late 2, and an early first. Like, that's amazing. You have to. I mean, you're not going to have any issue doing this, but you have basically 2 years to clear your cap space.
Yep. But I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't it this year he's got to figure out cap?
Oh yeah,
I'll figure out cap this year.
Yep.
I mean, if there's anyone that can do it, it's our trade leader. But
even so, yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson is clearly going to go to a Pro Bowl status in this league again.
Yep.
But
he's just going to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to hit that Devontae Adams contract. But yeah, I love this deal so much. I told RJ I love watching you do things in this league because it's just so entertaining no matter what you do.
Yep, I agree.
All right, well, it's been almost 50 minutes. Good for 1 week. I appreciate the other folks tuning in. Let's get to the post-pod stuff. And the folks watching, if you want to join in the post-pod conversations, just drop me a note in Discord, and I'll add you in. But